Welcome to another episode of the Distributed Data Show, brought to you by DataStax Academy, where we bring you the latest news and interview technical experts to help you succeed at building large-scale distributed systems.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Distributed Data Show. I'm Amanda, I'm a developer advocate, and this is our guest today, Jonathan. He's the founder of DataStax.
Sure, it's good to be on the show with you today, Amanda.
Thank you. I think you've been on the show many times, but this is the first time that you've been on the show with me, so it's the first time we're doing it together.
It is.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And today we're talking about something very exciting for us and for DataStax, which is our 6.7 release.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of this year, we released 6.0, which was a really big release for us, included advanced performance for the first time.
Right.
And then we're following it up 6 months later with 6.7.
Cool, that's great. So can you tell us some of, just at a high level, some of the new interesting features that are coming out in 6.7?
The biggest features are production support for Docker. So we launched kind of beta mode Docker a while back, but now it's ready for production.
Okay.
And we're also introducing a new Kafka connector.
Oh, okay. That's quite, I think a lot of people are pretty excited about a Kafka connector.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm a little bit passionate about, because one of the things that open source is good at is developers scratching their own itch, but it's a little bit less at creating a fully generalized solution to a problem space. And
right.
I first saw this with a fellow named Olin Shivers like 20 years ago. He created a scheme shell. And he expressed that his frustration that there's a bunch of open source projects in the space already, and they're all solving 80% of the problem. And so he's creating this to say, not to have another 80% solution,
right.
like the XKCD comic. now you have 15
right.
competing solutions instead of 14.
Right, that none really work.
Yeah, so he's saying, I'm going to solve this problem 100%. And so there's a bunch of Kafka to Cassandra connectors already, but they're kind of 80% solutions. And so we wanted to do one it's 100%. It's very flexible in terms of how you map the Kafka topic to the DSE tables. You can take part of the topic. You can even split topics into multiple tables. It's fully integrated with DSE security. So this is it's not an 80% product. It's not a beta product. It's 100%. And we're really proud of it.
Oh, that's great. So it sounds like it's fully ready for the enterprise. It's production ready. It's going to solve a lot of problems. And it's funny that you bring that up about that 80%, because I was recently at a Kafka talk when we all were at Strata, and someone had mentioned, they were talking about Cassandra and the connector, and they were saying it wasn't so great. And so I think that may be that 80% problem. It probably solved 80% of the problems, but if you have that 20% and you really need the 100%, then it's not going to seem like it's really solving your problem. So it sounds like we've solved that problem.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting
yeah,
for. Yeah,
awesome. So is there any other kinds of things that we've introduced around? I know we had some things with search. So can you talk to a little bit about some of the new things that we have with search that we've introduced?
Yeah, with Search in 6.7, we've focused on improving our support for geospatial data types and handling those and making those easier to consume from CQL. So that. Yes.
Okay. So you can just now be able to access these straight from SQL. You don't have to use the Solr query syntax?
Right. You don't have to use the HTTP API or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. It's kind of like Search did everything before, or at least it seems like it to me, and now it's doing even more. So I think I think we've added a lot here in 6.7. So I think there was one other thing that we wanted to talk about. So we've talked about the Kafka connector, we've talked about search. What about this new DSE Metric Collector?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've had Ops Center was actually our first product at DataStax, so it's ancient in technology terms, but that's been our story around. This is how you monitor DataStax clusters, and
right.
This is how you can tell when things go wrong and configure alerts and so forth. And that's great, and Ops Center does a good job at that.
Right.
The problem is that, especially in larger enterprises, there's already a this is how we do monitoring
right.
kind
Absolutely.
of thing. And you can understand why, right? Because if you're in DevOps, or if you're a pure SRE or whatever, when something goes wrong, you want to have that single pane of glass across all your systems, so you can tell from the Tomcat server to your application code to DSE, where is that problem happening and what's it affecting. And so having everything over here is in Promethus, but DataStax is a special animal, and that's an Ops Center. That's not a great experience. And so we're introducing this metrics collector to make it easier to participate in the wider ecosystem of what do you want to do with your metrics, where do you want to put them. And so as kind of a example, or one of the most common things that we're seeing people use this for is Prometheus. Especially popular in the Kubernetes community. And so we're providing Prometheus configuration out of the box, so you can do that. But it's not just Prometheus; it's like anything you want to send those metrics to.
I really like that phrase you just used, the single pane of glass. For those folks, especially probably when they're in a crisis moment, right? That's when you need all that all consolidated. That's really great. Also, so now that we're kind of talking about this in this ops and DevOps space, I think we also have some improvements with our backup and restore.
Yeah, we've made restores, it's almost exactly 3 times faster. So yeah. We put some effort into optimizing that, and it's consistent across the size of data. If you're restoring 250 gigabytes, if you're restoring 2 terabytes per machine, it's very consistently 3 times faster.
Oh, wow. And I think there's new destinations as well for some of the backups.
Yeah, and one more thing about the restore, actually, because the way we did restores before, you would use a low-level tool called SS Table Loader to send the restore data to the replicas in the cluster. And then one of the downsides to that is the replicas would need to do a compaction afterwards. And so you'd have not just like, okay, my restore is complete, but now there's kind of degraded performance until that compaction finishes. And we've been able to eliminate that with the new restore.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you eliminated that? Is that proprietary?
It's actually really simple. Is that it's an optimization for the cluster being the same size when you restore as when you backed it up. So we'll tag the restore or the backup metadata and say that these files came from machine X and these files came from machine Y, and we'll just pull them over the wire directly to the right machine, and that way you don't need to do a deduplication or anything.
Do you still need to do the compaction at the end?
So that's why you don't need a compaction, because you're pulling them over in the state that they were backed up. So the downside is that if you've added nodes to your cluster since you did the backup, then you'll need to throw those nodes away temporarily, do the restore, and then you can add the new nodes again. So that's a good motivation to keep your backups up to date.
Right. Well, and it seems like even though it's a little bit of a workaround, but it sounds like it's an easy workaround, right? You just add the nodes later, and it'll be quick time. Yeah, great, awesome. So would you want to tell us any more about those backup destinations?
Yeah, that's right. So we've always had support for S3, and so we've added specific support for Azure as well. And then the other thing we've done is there's a lot of products out there that say, you can use our proprietary API, or we'll also give you an S3 compatible API. And so we've added the ability to direct it to S3 compatible storage endpoints that aren't actually part of S3.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like a lot of with this update, at least to me, it sounds like we're really trying to make it as easy for our customers and our users, our developers, to use the tools that they want to use. We're not limiting, we're trying to open it so that anybody can use what works for them with DSE.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to summarize our philosophy here.
Awesome, yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I think we're all really excited at DataStax, all about 6.7. We're excited to share it with the rest of you. And so thank you so much for spending the time and telling us all about it.
Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So that's it for today. Be sure to subscribe so you can see us every week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us again for the Distributed Data Show. We love your feedback, so go to the Distributed Data Show page on DataStax Academy and tell us what you think. You can also find us on the DataStax Academy YouTube channel, or find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get great podcasts. While you're there, make sure and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.